I said, hey, I know you just got settled in your second career as a nurse. I'd like you to quit nursing and I'd like you to go back to school yet again and come and work with me, because I think that together we could really do something quite incredible.
All today's show is so good.
But number one, I've never seen an intro like that.
It is my hope and desire that not only will episode 30 still be fun, but episode 300 will be even more fun. You are made for something great, so go and be awesome.
Ten seconds remaining.
My name is Renee Hastings, and I'm your host of Renee Speaks. Y'all, this episode is brought to you by Executive Help Now and powered by live stream editors. At Executive Help Now, we're all about simplifying your business so you can focus on what really matters. From streamlining operations and managing your back office to producing podcast shows and keeping everything organized. Our team is here to help you thrive. So if you're ready to make your life just a little bit easier, hit us up at www.executivehelpnow.org. Y'all, let me tell you about our amazing guest today. Her name is Melissa Broughton, and she is the co-founder of Busy Bee Advisors, a bookkeeping, accounting, and tax firm helping small business owners gain financial clarity and reduce tax liability. She also created the 1 Hour Bookkeeper, a program that helps people start and grow profitable bookkeeping businesses. Y'all, put your hands together for Melissa Broughton. Hey, Melissa.
Hey, Renee, it's so great to be here. That's how I feel my welcome should be every morning when I wake up. But unfortunately, my kids are not that excited about me.
Well, I'm excited. I'll be excited for all of us. I'm super thrilled to have you on the show, Melissa, because I know that what you do and the service you provide is so critical to not only small business owners, whether solopreneurs or small business or what, but even in corporate. You know, for executives that might be listening, they may have some personal matters that need attending to, or some of the things that you say could even apply to them and the things that they have to deal with on a daily basis.
That's
so
true.
I'm super excited to learn more, see how it all applies, how we can get it all figured out. But first, I want to know a little bit more about you. Like, have you always been a numbers girly, or where did that come from?
You know, have I always? I don't know. How far back does always count? Because I will tell you that my love for accounting started when I was in high school. I needed that one extra elective class for graduation. It was my senior year, and there was an accounting class that was available. It fit into my schedule. It was kind of like everything clicked. I had really never before then been what I would consider a math person. I mean, math was fine, but it wasn't necessarily a subject that I got really excited about. And here there's this teacher who he was one of the oldest teachers at the school. I mean, everybody, he's an easy A, just take the class. He's an easy A. Like, that was my counselor telling me this, like, just take the class. And I took the class, and it was like, all of the lights on the road turned green. Everything just clicked for me. Everything made sense. And I absolutely fell in love with accounting. Now, what's ironic about it is my mom was an accountant. She still is. So my grandmother did bookkeeping work, you know, on the side, because she was in the 50s and 60s. She was like the original single mom raising 4 kids on her own. So It never clicked for me then, like watching these two amazing women, that this was the field that they were in. It took this wonderful, very patient instructor to make me fall in love with accounting. And then I really followed the traditional path. Like, I loved accounting. I've always been interested in business. So that naturally became me. Well, that's what I'm going to go to school for. Graduated from college and got a job with a big company, and then transitioned to a medium-sized company, and really spent my early career working for a few different companies, getting a lot of amazing experience. But things kind of changed for me when I got married and started to have a family of my own. So
Now, is that when you started Busy Bee Advisors?
So that was when I really started to think about Busy Bee Advisors. I wish we would have started in 2001 when my oldest son was born. We unfortunately I waited until 2016. You know, I thought that there was going to be the perfect timing, and there really isn't ever a perfect time to kind of take that leap. But for us, it really was the best time ever to take that chance. We were young enough to take the risk, we being my husband and I, we were young enough to take the risk of me leaving corporate America. He had a career transition in 2008 and was at this point in 2016 was very settled in his career. So 2016 was when I officially started Busy Bee Advisors.
Wow, that is awesome. And like you said, I agree. There's never really a perfect time. And when you're going out on your own and making that transition from corporate America to being an entrepreneur, that can be so scary. It can be super, super, super scary, because I've been there, done that. So I know what that feels like. But, you know, people are going to always need bookkeepers and people to help them with their finances. As long as people work, there's going to be a need for your services.
Well, and that's so true. It was funny. I was listening to a podcast the other day. I really try to, before I'm going to be interviewed on a podcast, I really try to listen to as many of that speaker's podcasts as I possibly can. I've enjoyed listening to quite a few of yours. My dog and I are very well educated now on a variety of topics, but I was listening to this podcast, and the speakers was not actually talking about accounting. He was talking about side hustles. And he said, well, I'm not a numbers person, but I'll tell you what, the ultimate side hustle, gosh, it could even be a full-time job, would be accounting or bookkeeping. And I'm like, that's what I'm talking about. It really doesn't take, of course, if you're a CPA, that takes education, that takes training, that takes some very awful tests that you have to get through. But if you are just interested in numbers and want to run a business that works around your family, bookkeeping truly could be the answer that you're looking for. Because just like you said, every single business that's out there needs a bookkeeper.
That's right. 100%. And so how would you then say that your corporate experience, though, shaped how you operate your business today, or shape how you approach your entrepreneurship?
I think it really gave me a leg up. I think it allowed me to be able to cut through the nonsense that a lot of people who have never worked in corporate America, who have never had that experience. I think that I saw things very clearly. I knew when I started what my non-negotiables were. And I knew what I had some flexibility on. I knew when I started that I wanted to grow a large team. I knew that I never wanted it to be just me. And I feel that's one of the mistakes a lot of bookkeepers out there make is they just want it to be them. And so they're very limited. And they're also limited in the way of you're tied to your bookkeeping business almost more so than you would be to a job, because there's no vacation time. If there's nobody to back you up, there's no breaks, there's no sick days, there's nobody that's a buffer between you and, maybe a client that might be upset or anything like that. So I was very deliberate with having our office and having everything in the infrastructure. And this was in 2016. This wasn't, post-pandemic when everybody was used to everything being remote. I was very deliberate on designing a company that was around total flexibility, so that if I wanted to go to the beach with my kids for the day. I could go to the beach with my kids for the day. If I want, I could work from anywhere, and I have that total flexibility. So there was a lot of intention behind what I did when I started the company. The other piece is that I wanted to bring all of the benefits that larger companies who have a team of accountants get to small businesses. So I wanted those mom and pop businesses to have the same benefits that larger companies had. And that means, that sometimes I have clients where it feels like I'm going, poke, 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 hello, it's time for us to have a meeting. We need to check in. We need to have a conversation. Most clients are pretty appreciative of it, although I do get some where they get busy and they get caught up. And so, maybe I don't get as much hands-on experience with them as I would like, but I think I bridged the gap, and that was always my mission, or at least that was my mission when I initially started, was to bring the benefits that large companies get to small businesses.
Right. Wow, that's so smart. It's like you were ahead of your time.
I was the trendsetter. Who knew?
Right. Trend-setting you. That is fantastic. And as you have built this business, you've built Busy Bee Advisors from the ground up, fully intentional about making it remote, flexible, able to scale so that everything isn't landing on you. What bookkeeping and tax challenges have you discovered that many entrepreneurs face in your experience?
So in 2016, I started Busy Bee Advisors. In 2018. Now, this is kind of crazy, but it was right before the pandemic. Like, we didn't know the world was going to go crazy. I approached my husband and I said, hey, I know you just got settled in your second career as a nurse. I'd like you to quit nursing, and I'd like you to go back to school yet again and come and work with me, because I think that together we could really do something quite incredible. And so in 2018, right before our whole world shut down, and he would have been on the front lines of all of it as a nurse, he actually left nursing and went back to school. And so my husband is my business partner, and he runs the tax side of our company. I would say on the bigger picture side of things, people don't know what they don't know. And one of my favorite talks that I give, sometimes alone, sometimes Eric and I give it together, but it's called The Tax System is Rigged. And we really have this tax system that's self-reported. You have a professional who, in most cases, and this is sad to say for my profession, or at least for the tax profession, but most tax professionals really are glorified order takers. They take the information from you as the client. There's very little verification unless something huge jumps out. There's very little verification. There's very little pushback. There's very little communication. And if there is communication, it's after the fact. And they're taking what you know, but you don't know what you don't know. So, they take kind of maybe not the best information, not a complete picture, and then they file your taxes. And so we really set out, when we opened up the tax side of the business, we really set out to do that differently. We are, I would say, pretty aggressive on the tax side of things, in the way that we are working with our clients throughout the year, not after the year has ended, when there's really change that can be affected. But also, I don't know about you, but life is busy, and there's stuff that happens that we forget about. And so you have a tax professional who's talking to you, 4 to 6 times throughout the year of, what is your goal working with you? What are your objectives in your business? What do you want to achieve? And it helps to ensure that those things don't fall through the cracks. So I would say the first piece that I would love to have people out there hear is have a tax professional. I mean, of course, if it's us, we'd love to help and be of service to you. But if it's somebody else, have a tax professional that you feel that you can communicate with, and that communicates with you. The second piece that we see is business owners not utilizing corporations. We talked to a professional last week, and the professional does just under $1 million in profit in her business in a given year, and she's operating still as a sole proprietor. So she's getting hit by, an extra 30. I know it hurts. Like it hurts. She's getting hit by an extra, 30% in taxes. Like that for us to look like the heroes in that situation is really easy. But it was, she spent the last 15 years in her life being in school and training and setting up a practice. And there really wasn't a lot of education on the business side of her business. And so we see that a lot more often than we should, but there's just not a lot of education. And, I think the internet's wonderful. I think AI is wonderful. I say that because I believe we should be nice to AI. But I do think that there's still information that should be verified, either from professionals or from actual books, where it's truly information that somebody who has a background or is qualified to be able to provide that information. There's a lot of unvetted information that's out there on the internet, and that's kind of what to me is a little bit scary. So
yeah, agreed. Well, and I'm so sad for your client who didn't know that her business structure should have been something different a long time ago before you guys met. But but like you said, you don't know what you don't know. And if she didn't have the benefit of somebody like you in her life telling her, when you get to making, certain amount of money, you need to think about changing your structure, then she just would never know to do that. Right?
Well, or the flip side is maybe somebody did have that conversation with her, because I would love to believe that somebody out there had that conversation with her. Maybe not, but maybe they did, and there was never any follow-up, and her business just kept moving, forward and moving along. And before you know it, another year has passed. I mean, I'm blown away by how quickly, once I hit 40, it was like birthdays seemed to come very quickly.
Yeah, like every week.
Like every week. It's crazy. So, it is possible that things just move very quickly, and it just kind of got brushed under the carpet.
Yeah. Well, hopefully, and thankfully for you, you were able to get in and help that not be her story anymore.
Yes, correct.
But and further to that, you've created like a whole system of, the 1 Hour Bookkeeper. Tell us a little bit more about that and how that approach helps save time and improve efficiency.
So 2022, our business on both sides was really, we were growing by leaps and bounds. We still continue to have some pretty amazing growth in my opinion, but it was at this pivotal point where I could really switch my role from not having anything to do with clients' books at all and really be in the place of just hiring bookkeepers. And I didn't necessarily want to just hire bookkeepers. I really love the client work. I enjoy the numbers. I love what my craft is. And so I looked at different ways that it could shift with our business. I looked at if we wanted to franchise. We actually put a lot of time and a lot of investigation into franchising, but it's risky, just like anything else is. And, I had thought, well, maybe there's a reason why there's not a lot of other bookkeeping franchises out there. So maybe we'll look at different avenues. And I have always been very passionate about what you said, your kind of tagline for the show of you were meant for greatness. And I think there are so many women out there. Now, this may apply to men too. I'm not excluding guys out there. I love men. But really for women, I think we sometimes play it small in our own lives. And I think sometimes we either are in a career that we hate, because I was there, or I was there and I was commuting an hour and a half each way to a job that I did not love. Right.
Yeah. Same. Very relatable.
Or you have children and you feel like you're depleted on that side, and you sit there, and maybe it's in the quiet moments of the evening or the morning when you first wake up, and you're going, there has to be something more than this. I have to be put on this planet to do something more than just to survive or barely survive. And what I found in my journey of hiring bookkeepers was that there is some amazing and incredible talent that is out there, especially for women who are living in areas that are more rural areas or maybe military spouses. And, the kind of the real light bulb moment came to me when I was talking to a woman in South Carolina, and she was applying for a bookkeeping position. She had a double master's degree. Now, I believe in hiring people that are smarter than me, but this was like, this woman could run laps around me. And she was in tears because the only job she could find was at the local Piggly Wiggly, which she couldn't even say without sobbing. And I couldn't figure out what she was talking about. I had to do a Google search. I'm like, okay, it's a grocery store. But the only job that she could find was at the local grocery store as a bagger, making like less than $10 an hour.
What?
And it was, the economy was there in her area. And so it was okay, so maybe there is something to this. And I essentially, for her, took together all of the different internal training modules we had used. She was a little bit of my test bunny. We put together a training program for her. We launched her. I helped her get her first 10 clients and establish herself as a practice, and then kind of, sent her on her way. It took about 3 months, and it was amazing. And it was the most gratifying thing I've ever done.
Wow. Wait, hold on. Let's not speed past that. That deserves some applause, because you have
I couldn't hear you through the clapping.
No, I said you're changing lives.
Well, and I think we're all put on this earth. I think we're all put on this earth for a reason, and I felt like that became my purpose. And it's not, it wasn't to sound, I don't know, I wasn't trying to boast or anything like that. It was just this, it was, I think it was more amazing for me than it was for her. So I started to reach out to find what professionals I needed to really turn this into something. In 24, we officially launched the 1 Hour Bookkeeper. 2025, we had 3,500, a little bit more than that, students that have gone through the course.
Wow. Congratulations. That is huge. That is what an accomplishment. And 2024 was only 2 years ago, to have 3,500 students come through your program.
Yep, in a year. So it's been really incredible. It's been humbling. I have gotten to meet some of just the most incredible men and women, people who are, we joke at this point of my admin has some numbers on her desk, and the first one says 16 and the other one says 97, but that's our official age range of people, the ages of people that we've worked with, so we have people that are just starting out and they are wanting to learn bookkeeping because they're wanting to help, in a family business. We have people who are in retirement that are wanting to learn bookkeeping because they want to keep their minds sharp. I mean, I have one lovely lady who, she is in her 90s, and she doesn't really care if she works with clients. She just likes the challenge of it because she can use the skills to volunteer at certain places, and it helps keep her mind sharp. So different pieces of it apply to different people, but I do think that all of us were meant for greatness. And if there is a skill that every business needs, why would that not be something that you would consider? Because I would have no question in my mind that whoever is out there watching or listening, that I can teach you the skills you need.
Right. And your program is online though, right? They just go to your website and they just sign up to click on a button and want to learn more about the 1 Hour Bookkeeping program. And they just sign up and get taken through like an LMS, like a learning module type of system, and step by step, just learn each of the different things that they need to do to even understand the basics. Because as an entrepreneur, one of the things that I find is so critically important is to know your numbers. You have to know what's going on in your business. Are you making money? Does it look like you're making money, but you always feel broke? Why? Is understanding these basic concepts can help you understand why you may feel that way, right?
Well, and that's a huge, which you tapped on there, that's a huge kind of want and desire for business owners out there, of the question of, well, it feels like I'm making all of this money, but yet there's no money.
Right.
And having that bookkeeper to help you figure out, where the profit leaks in your business, that's huge. And so we of course at Busy Bee still have our clients that we work with, but we are now really helping our coaching students, or the students who go through the 1 Hour Bookkeeper courses, to help them build their businesses, and to let them see that they can live a life with purpose, where they can have that balance that they've been looking for, and to really make a change and influence small businesses.
Wow. Well, you guys are doing that in spades. So, keep up the great work. So, Melissa, as people think about, their finances and what, understanding maybe profit and loss statement or a balance sheet or any of the other critical documents to kind of assess where your business is, does your program go that far, or is that where you and your services come in?
Our program definitely goes that far. So, if you're a business owner that's out there and you're wondering what the most important financial statement you should be looking at is, I would say the top one that you should become comfortable with looking at, and have your accountant walk you through it, have your bookkeeper walk you through it, push back, ask questions, have them break it down, have them explain, where do these numbers come from? But that would be the income statement, which is also known as the profit and loss. And that's really the easiest, I think, most digestible statement for somebody to look at who's not comfortable looking at finances. The other piece that I would highly recommend is that you have your bookkeeper or accountant put together a budget for you for your business based upon your goals. If we go back to my experience in corporate America, no company would have ever gone into it the next year without having a budget established, without knowing what their intention was for this year. Yet small businesses, which have a much tighter budget, they don't have, pockets of backup cash and, millions of dollars in reserve. I mean, what's in their accounts is what they have. And yet they so often are terrified of setting up a budget. Have your bookkeeper set up a budget for you based upon what your goals are for the business. And if they seem to flounder, feel free to reach out to us, because we would be more than happy to help point you in the right direction.
Awesome. That is great advice, great knowledge and wisdom that you are sharing. Because if you don't have a budget, how do you know that you're going to be able to achieve the goals that you have for the business, right? Especially what if you lose a client? That then will just shoot the whole budget to, back, and then you have to do something different and make adjustments. But you don't know how the loss of this client impacts the rest of your budget for the rest of the year if you don't originally have a budget to work from, right? So I agree with you 100%. You have to go ahead, get comfortable with the B word, and
it's not a dirty word. It's right.
Good. It's a good word. It is a good word. Melissa, this is so fantastic. Do you have any final words of advice for entrepreneurs who are overwhelmed by finances?
Well, we've got a free resource that we're going to give your audience. That's a great way for them it's a 3-step guide to achieving work-life balance. And it's a way to just take a look and see if bookkeeping may even be something that you might be interested in. You read through the book, it'll give you all of the information on how to connect with us if you want more information. We've got a Facebook page that's a free, community on Facebook. We also have a free, community on school. But if you feel like you are missing something in your life, I really do urge you to consider bookkeeping.
Awesome. I love that. And where can listeners connect with you? I know we've shown your website a couple of times. Is that the best place to reach you? Or are there other places where we can find you where people can get more information?
We're all over the place. I will say busybeeadvisors.com. Fill out the form on our website. That's going to get directly to me, and I will be able to, or my office manager, and we'll be able to make sure you get routed to the right person. Sometimes we have people that think that they want bookkeeping help, but they end up deciding that they want to become bookkeepers. So busybeeadvisors.com. Jules, who is our office manager, she'll make sure you get to the right person that you need to talk to in our organization, and we'll be more than happy to answer any questions you have. And there's Jules, right?
Awesome. Fantastic. And you're also on Instagram. And like you said, you have a Facebook page and a whole community out there where people can join. And in this community, I'm assuming they can share questions or get feedback or answers to things quickly that they might be dealing with on a random basis.
Those things that pop up, those questions that pop up in the middle of the night. Yeah. I love the platform that we have on school. That's really, I would say that's my favorite platform because I really can closely interact with everybody. We have posts that are going up every day. Right now we want to keep it fun. So right now we have a game. It's called the Bookkeepers Growth Game, and they can win prizes for participating in the game. So we really keep it fun, and it's crazy to me. Like I have people like Vanat who just to post, how do I upgrade my membership? How do I get more information? And to me, that's I almost feel like this life that I get to live is a little bit of a dream, but I'm thrilled to be of service. So
wow, what a blessing! What an absolute blessing to be able to live out your purpose, impact lives, give people opportunity where they never even thought there could have been. Melissa, you were made for something great. So go and be awesome.
Thanks, Renee.